We're on the bagger today. This is my brother's. Oh man, it's so much different than what I'm used to. It's my brother's Harley Davidson Nightster 1200. I made a video just giving it a quick overview on it. It's pretty awesome to have. I have two motorcycles and my brother has two, so being able to ride them, they're awfully different from one another. Let's go right. They're so much different from one another, where if you rode the same bike for, you know, all the time, you just get so used to it. But he has this bike and he has like a ZX14, which is, he's still doing some work on that. That bike is incredibly fast. And then of course I have two bikes. I have my FZ6 and then a really big BMW. We actually went, I guess the topic of this will just be about kind of a long trip. We did a long trip from Washington State, from Seattle, all the way down to wow, what's going on here? To California. So it was 2,000 miles there and back, and it took about 5 days. So the first day we started off in Seattle and went all the way down to about the middle part of Oregon to, I think it was North Bend, Oregon, or Coos Bay, Oregon. I was about I think 430 or 40 miles. And that ride was, but we did this all on the 101, so Highway 101, which goes all along the coast, the western coast of Oregon and California, and a little bit of Washington as well. Now he didn't take this motorcycle. You know, obviously you could, but this bike doesn't have a fairing, and neither does my FZ6. So I took my big BMW, which was great. You know, you got a big fairing. It's a lot bigger bike. The seating position's pretty comfortable. It's got a big seat on it, so I didn't have any problems being comfortable on my K1200. My brother took my dad's motorcycle, which my dad has a Harley Street, I think it's a Street Glide. It's just a big black Harley Davidson, like 2013. It's basically like a new motorcycle. And so my brother took that bike. And yeah, so the first day we did about 440 miles. The second day we went all the way we woke up at like 6 in the morning and we were on the road by about 6:30 or 7. And we went from Coos Bay, Oregon, all the way to San Francisco, California, which was, I think, about 520 miles, if I'm not mistaken. That was the longest day by far. And I mean, that's about the longest I would want to ride in one day. They're doing a lot of construction over here. So that was 520 miles, and I remember we had already been riding for probably 2 hours or maybe a little bit more. And I remember seeing a sign that said San Francisco, California, 392 miles. And I thought to myself, holy shit, that's a long way. Because we had already been riding for a little bit, and we had planned to go all the way to San Francisco. San Francisco, I had never been there. Northern California was rather hot. It was probably close to 90 degrees, and then it really cooled off in San Francisco once we got there. It was probably only 70 degrees, and obviously you're by the ocean, so there was quite a breeze. so it was actually kind of cold there, which was nice because we were just burning on the freeway up by once you got south from Eureka, California, all the way to San Francisco. I think it was Santa Rosa. Santa Rosa was really hot, just compared to where we were the other day. I mean, in Southern Oregon, it was, you know, Seaside. Obviously, Seaside's northern Oregon, but the Oregon coast is pretty cold. I mean, you're right there off the ocean, and that was really the highlight of the trip. The Oregon coast was just absolutely beautiful, and a lot of the road they built is literally right next to the ocean. So there's a lot of miles where you're looking out at just the ocean, and it's beautiful. Washington doesn't have that really. They have a few sections where there's a little bit of ocean, and California does as well, but Oregon was, you know, that was by far like the most beautiful road I'd ever been on. It was just awesome. And there was plenty of, like I said, plenty of places to stop and just kind of look out at the ocean and viewpoints and stuff like that. It really gives you a sense of how small you are when you look at how big the ocean is. Some of the rock formations out there are just like these little tiny islands, I guess they are, but they're just massive, right? And so it's pretty cool to see that. Of course, it doesn't make sense to go on that road because it takes so much longer to go anywhere. So that was the nice thing, that it's really low traffic. You know, we went miles without seeing another car, so that was a really great part of the trip. And then of course we hung out in San Francisco for a while, and the next day we went to Reno, Nevada, and that was the shortest day. That was only 200 miles or so. And we did that. We didn't leave till probably 10 or 11 in the morning, and we got to Reno just a couple hours later. Reno was, we had been there before, and we just kind of wanted to go back there and check it out. Obviously everything was closed because of the virus, but that was a, you know, Reno's pretty small, and doing all the miles on a motorcycle, it really shows you most of this country is just absolutely nothing. I mean, there were some signs where you get on a back road and it says the next gas station is like 120 miles away, or the next city that has 57 people is 68 miles away. So yeah, definitely interesting to do, because there's roads that literally there's just no one on them, and there's miles and miles and miles of back roads that take you to cities that basically no one lives in. It's just a small little, you know, you pass the city in about 30 seconds. There's maybe a gas station, maybe like a little general store, and that's about it. And then there's some houses, and then you're back on the main road. And there's just nothing for 50, 100, 200 miles, just nothing. So that was really cool to see. The third day we went, or the third, was this the third day? This would be the fourth day. We went back from Reno to Bend, Oregon. So we started going back towards Seattle on a different road. I think we went on Highway 97 North. I want to say, but that road was the most, there was the least amount of traffic on that road. So that was another cool day, just because the road was so wide open and it wasn't as scenic, because you weren't on the ocean obviously, but it was still beautiful, because, you know, you can imagine people that were originally coming here west, like on the Oregon Trail, that's what they saw. I mean, just imagine the country with a 2-lane road, and then everything else remains completely untouched. There was no houses, there was no apartments, there was nothing for hundreds of miles. And I had never really seen anything like that, because I live kind of in a city or in a suburban area where there's always people around, and you can tell that, you know, there's structures and businesses, and so you don't really see like the wild west. unless you live out in the sticks, or unless you're just kind of out traveling nowhere. So that was really just a treat to see. Again, it just gives you a scale of how big this country is and how small most areas are that people live in. Like, there's millions of people that live in this metropolitan area, and then if you go out to the boonies a little bit, there's basically no one. I mean, just a lot of land and nothing going on at all. So quite a difference really between the two lifestyles. And then the last day we went from Bend, Oregon back to Seattle. So that was about 400 miles as well. So day 3 and day 4 were about 400 miles each, and that day was also good. You know, we went on, again, I think the road was Highway 97 going from Bend north to like Goldendale, Washington, and then we went up through. We took the Canyon Road from Ellensburg up to, or from Yakima up to Ellensburg. I actually don't think I can go down this road because it's closed. So, yeah, you're definitely going to want to have the right bike for it. You could totally do it on my FZ6 or on this bike. Like, the bike wouldn't have a problem doing it, but